Good morning, everyone. So today we are starting with chapter number 15, that is Hydrosphere. Okay, chapter 15, Hydrosphere. You all know that by the meaning of the word hydrosphere, we mean water. So we are going to understand regarding the most abundant source available on Earth, that is hydrosphere. And that is why Earth is also called as a unique planet because of the availability of water, which is a very important source of life. Now in this flow chart, you can see first of all, regarding how water is sustained on the earth. So, water is sustained on the earth by the help of hydrological cycle, in which the water has been taken up, by the process of evaporation and transpiration, and again it is deposited by the way of precipitation. Okay, so this is hydrological cycle, which you must have been learning from the previous classes also. Then hydrosphere, we have two kinds of water, fresh water and saline water. Saline water is one in which the content of dissolved minerals is very much, but in fresh water it is very less, and it is available and consumable for the human beings also. Now fresh water is present in the way of rivers, glaciers, lakes, and underground water. So these are the sources of fresh water, and we have the some sources of saline water also, which is very much which we get from the oceans and seas. And you all know that we have five oceans. Pacific Ocean is the biggest one. Then we have Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Antarctica, and which is also called as Southern Ocean, and Arctic Ocean. And in ocean there are three kind of important phenomena which happen and which actually helps in the changing of water and all, which are waves, tides, and current, which is the most important part of the chapter, which we are going to understand later on. So first of all, you all know that that earth is called as a blue planet because it is 78% of the part of our earth is covered with water. So hydrosphere is very important, and that is why we have dedicated the whole chapter to hydrosphere only. Water is sustained by the way of hydrological cycle, which is also called as water cycle. You can understand in this diagram, in which the water is converted into water vapor and then clouds by the evaporation. Okay, in which the sea water is converted into the water vapor and by the way of transpiration. Now what is transpiration? You know that the trees and the branches, they also have certain amount of water into them, so that water is converted into water vapor. That process is called as transpiration. And then the water is actually fall down onto the earth by the way of precipitation. And this is how the water which has been taken away is deposited again into the onto the earth. So this is your hydrological cycle. Now as I told you that there are two kinds of water available on earth, fresh water and saline water. Now, fresh water is one which is actually only 1% available on the earth. It is very less, and it is actually the best for consumable of the human beings. We cannot, as a human being, we cannot consume and survive on salty water. So, fresh water is very much important, but it is only 1% available, which is all you get from the way of rivers and lakes and underground water and ice caps. So it has certain amount of salinity into it, but it is very less, so we can consume it in daily needs. But saline water, it has 35% of salinity, which is very high percentage, and that is why, though it is so abundantly available onto the earth, but still it is not best for the consumption from the human beings, so we cannot consume it. Okay, so this is fresh water and saline water. And saline water we got from the oceans and sea, which has very high degree of salinity into it. Okay, it has many kind of minerals into it, like sodium and sulfur and calcium and chlorine, and that is why it is not fit for our consumption. Okay, now the temperature of the water. Now see, the temperature of the water, wherever you go, the temperature of the water will vary. Somewhere you will find very hot water, somewhere you will find very cold water. So what does it depends upon? The temperature of the water depends upon many factors which has been listed over here. We will read them one by one. Okay. The first is wind, tides and waves. Now winds, tides and wave, they actually creates a lot of changes into water, and the water gets mixed up, and that is how the water and the temperature of the water will change. Okay, if it is hot but it is mixed, if the tides come and the waves come, and if they get mixed up, then the temperature of the water might get changed. So that is the first reason. Second is latitude. Okay, now latitude, that we have, like we have equator, we have tropic of Cancer, Capricorn, and then we have poles also. So the temperature of the water also depend upon on which latitude it is lying. If we are talking about the water which is near to the equator, then it will be hot water. And if we go further away from the equator, then we will find less and less in water, less and less amount of water which is hot. And if you move towards the poles, then you will find freezing water. Okay, so latitude is again a very important characteristics which decide the temperature of a water. Then we have, that equator, because equatorial area is near to the sun, because it receives the direct rays of the sun. That is why it is actually, it will have hot water. And if the water is actually near to the polar region, then it will be cold water. But another thing is currents. Currents we will understand in the later on chapter, in this chapter only. But what is current? Is current is the movement of the water. Okay, if this is your earth and this is the equatorial line, this is your polar area and this is equatorial line. If the water movement is like this, so by the when it will start from equator, it will be hot, but by the time it will reach the polar area, it will become colder and colder. Okay, likewise, if the water is moving from the polar regions towards the equator, then here it will be cold. But the way we keep on moving from here to here, it will become, more warmer and warmer. So this is the current, the current of the water, their position also decide that what kind of temperature of water you will find. Then the temperature of ocean water also decreases with the depth. Because the sun rays are falling on the water, the surface water will be warm. But if you go deeper and deeper, then the temperature of the water will change. The way you keep on moving inside the water depth, you will find it becoming, the temperature becoming lesser and lesser. And if you go into the very deep, deep area, then you might find it very cold. So it also depend upon the depth of the water. So these are the reasons which decide the temperature of the water. Okay, in the next class we will learn about the movement of the ocean, which I have told you, that is waves, currents and tides, which we will do in the next class. Okay, thank you so much.